Monday morning to you. I hope as always that this is finding you well. I hope that you had a great Christmas, and I hope that you maybe had some opportunities to spend some time with some loved ones. Maybe not so much about the gifts, but if maybe somebody bought you a gift, that it was one that you were very satisfied with. And if you were not, then we'll pray for you that you'll have a spirit of thankfulness and gratitude when somebody gives you a gift. Well, as we conclude this week, there's going to be just some various thoughts that I want to convey to you as the week ends. And this morning, from the book of Psalms 105, I just want to give you this very simple thought that God remembers. Now, before we get into this, I'd like to kind of prepare your mind, if you will. The last few days, all you've thought about, or most of us have thought about, was what was under the tree, what we were giving somebody, if it was the perfect gift, if it was acceptable. You know, oftentimes we're very unsure of what we're giving somebody, and we have to, when they're opening the gift, we always tell them, if you don't like it, you can take it back, or if it's not this, if it's not good enough, or if it's not the right color, and because we're just uncertain as to whether it's the right fit, and so we oftentimes do that, and people do that with us when we open a gift. And then there's just all these. Yesterday I spent the whole sermon talking about the stresses and anxieties of the Christmas season, and the multitude of emotions that swirl around the Christmas season. Sometimes there's an empty chair, there's the anxiety of too much to do, too many get-togethers, and trying to make everybody happy with everything. So anyways, we looked at all these things, but in the next few days, if I can kind of swerve your mind back to focusing on Him, that will be the goal for the next few days. So in the book of Psalms 105, I'm just going to read you one verse. Now there's a great recount of history all throughout Psalms 105, and talks about what God has done. And in verse 42, it says, "For He remembered His holy promise and Abraham His servant." Now, very simple verse, we wouldn't think there would be that much in it, but God remembered. Now, God had made Abraham a promise when Abraham, sometime before, and he had made this promise that Abraham was going to be, his name meant father of many nations, and he had Abraham take a walk, and he said, "Everywhere the sole of your foot shall tread," so that's going to be your land. I'm going to give that to you. Well, Abraham passed away, and generations went on, and then, of course, God's people were in Egypt, which turned into slavery, and so He brought them out. And Psalms 105 talks about the bringing out, and in verse 42, as He brought them, these people that He chose with gladness to this land, the scriptures record that God, for He remembered His promise in Abraham His servant. So very simply this morning, I just want to direct your attention to the Lord. And you know, we have a Bible full of promises that we feel sometimes God has been slack on. Maybe He's not fulfilling those promises and as we think they should be fulfilled. And I want you to understand today that God remembers each one of His promises. There's a multitude of promises, in so much that we could never expound every one of them from the scriptures, but God remembers His promises to you, His promises of peace and joy, His promises of hope, His promises of contentment and satisfaction. And maybe you are living today unsatisfied. Well, God knows His promise to you, and we're going to have to trust Him for it. I know that heartbreak and heartache has come through this season, where there's empty chairs at the table. Christmas looked different for people. There's just sometimes a melancholy that overwhelms us, and and we sit back and we think, well, God, you said you leave your joy with us that our joy might remain full, and I'm just not feeling that. And it's oftentimes that our feelings will get us in trouble, and we need to remember the facts. And by two immutable things, one of them is that God cannot lie. He'll hold to his promise, and he remembers. So take heart and be encouraged today that God hasn't changed. The Christmas trees might go down and the decorations might go away in the next week, but God hasn't changed one bit. He remembers. And so let's continue not only just to believe and trust him in these promises, but thank him for what he's going to do throughout the rest of this year. Many of you are looking into 2022 already, and you've overlooked the next few days. And we have the next few days to live in, and we're going to look at those tomorrow that we need to live in today and not tomorrow. And so let's be reminded. Psalms 105, go back and read it. Be reminded of God's promises, his provision and his protection over his people, and that he remembers. Well, I pray that you have a wonderful Monday. I pray that God blesses you abundantly, and I'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow. God bless you.